Friday, March 15th, 2019, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Before I go on today, I'd like to thank all my supporters, all the subscribers, viewers, for all their interaction with the channel, for all their support through PayPal, Patreon, through cryptocurrency donations, through using the maneco 64 Teespring store. And if you'd like to donate or support the channel, there are links below in the description. Thanks again. Today I'd like to talk about the BIS, the bank that can do no wrong. And that's a reference actually to William Blackstone. And he said this in the 18th century. He said that the king can do no wrong is a necessary and fundamental principle of the English Constitution. Basically meaning that the king has full immunity and is a sovereign and cannot be prosecuted. I want to talk about today a really great YouTube channel. The guy is called John Titus. The channel is called Best Evidence, and he doesn't have too many videos, but they're great. He's done some documentaries. Now he's going to start a series about how the banking cabal is running the whole world, especially in the United States. He's focused in the United States. I've done a video before about one of John Titus's documentary called All the Plenary's Men. I'll put it up in the card above and in the link below. So first, before I go a little further into John Titus, his YouTube channel, and why I recommend it highly, let's look at the markets this morning before we go further here. It's 7:34 a.m. London. We've got spot gold actually rising today, back above 1300, 1303.50, up $7.50. Or just over 0.5%. Range has been 1294 to 1304. Silver outperforming today, not very hard because it's been underperforming so much of late. We're up 1.25% or 19 cents at 1537. Range has been 1516 to 1539. The Dow is up 67 points, 25,782. Or 0.25%. S&P is up 5 or 0.18% at 2813. The Nasdaq is up 100 is up 0.33%. Yesterday, the markets didn't really do much. S&P was down 2.5 points. Nasdaq was down 12 points, and the Dow was up 7 points. Maybe the market is starting to lose momentum. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Currency-wise, sterling again, very volatile, even though right now we're fairly steady, 132.50. What happened yesterday? There were loads of votes in Parliament. Basically, it was a good day for Prime Minister May. Some of the votes or amendments were on having a second referendum, on delaying Brexit, and they all failed. And the one that got through was to try, if the UK was able to get a deal that would be approved, a deal with the EU that would be approved by Parliament before March, that they would ask, the UK would ask the EU for an extension, I think to June 30th of this year, to work it out. The key now is whether the EU will do that. So the only thing I can say about Brexit right now is that it's very uncertain. I'm not even sure that a no deal Brexit is off the table, meaning it could actually happen still. And we've only got now 14 days to well, the deadline is supposed to be March 29th at 11 p.m. London time. So there you go. Euro is up slightly this morning, up 18 pips at 113.21. Dollar's down very little against the yen, really. It's 111.63. Dollar down as well slightly against the yuan, Chinese yuan at 671.72. Crude oil continuing to trade higher here. It's almost up to 60, the WTI now. We're at 59.05, up 1/3%. The high's been 59.10, so right near the highs. Brent crude 67.40, up also 1/3%, right near the highs. I noticed the 10-year yield yesterday dropped a couple of basis points. We're at 262, still fairly low levels, pointing to not great economic performance, I would say, by the U.S. economy. The BIS, the bank that can do no wrong. And I borrowed that from John Titus because that's the term he uses. And he references William Blackstone from the 18th century, legal scholar, I guess, William Blackstone. Very important reference for the law, not only in the UK, but in the US. And John Titus made a video a year ago, a documentary, All the Plenary's Men, and I highly recommend it. I've talked about it in one of my videos, and it's entitled, it was from February 7th, 2018. It's entitled The Globalists' Supranational Banking Headquarters, the BIS. And I recommend this book as well, The Tower of Basel. Well, the BIS is in Basel, Switzerland, and it's by Adam Libor. So, the shadowy history of the secret bank that runs the world. And even though John Titus doesn't mention the BIS in his latest documentary, which is called We Used to Throw Criminals Off. So that was published 4 days ago, his latest video. He explains that he was going to do another 3-hour or so documentary, very long documentary, but unfortunately he was ill last year. I think he had a heart attack, and he's changed his mind now. He's going to do more regular videos about the subject, which is great. So I would definitely subscribe to his channel. It's called Best Evidence. And await, listen to the new video, await for other videos, and listen to all the other ones he's done. He's got 5 of them. It's not many, but very, very interesting, a lot of views. So yeah, he mentions basically that the US is under a banking dictatorship because basically the Department of Justice hasn't been prosecuting the banks for their crimes. And he mentions Goldman Sachs in particular, but the only way the banks, according to him, have been able to do this is because the Department of Justice in the US is compromised. And he says nothing's changed. So the banks are still in charge. It didn't happen overnight, according to him. And I think the top boss, so to speak, because he calls it a mafiocracy, like mafiacracy, what we have now in the US. But I would say it's the same thing in the UK. The bankers haven't been prosecuted for about 30 years, I think. They've stopped prosecuting the bankers. Yes, of course, sometimes individual traders get prosecuted, but that's when they're acting just in their own interest. But as a whole, banks, their leadership, their CEOs, they go scot-free. They have immunity. So basically, they can do no wrong, and they are really the sovereign. They've usurped the Constitution in the US. They've usurped the rule of law here in the UK. So yes, and in other countries probably the same thing. I'm not too familiar with what's happening in the continent and the ECB in each individual European country, but I would say it's pretty much the same, though the bankers are in charge. And I think the top bank that is the capo di capi, as the Italians would say, the mafia in Italy would say, is the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements in Basel. And why do I say that? Well, because you look here at the Wikipedia, it says that the BIS has extraterritorial jurisdiction. So it's basically above the law of any country, and the Swiss authorities cannot go into the Basel headquarters and into the BIS headquarters in Basel, because it's like an embassy of a sovereign country, and the BIS as well, through Basel III, which we think is a great, is supposed to regulate these too big to fail banks. It's really trying to keep them going to continue to screw the public. And if you listen to the documentary, All the Plenaries Men, you understand how the BIS, through the Financial Stability Board, the FSB, the people who are part of the BIS, how they discourage like people like the Department of Justice or UK authorities from prosecuting these significant important financial institutions, or SIFI, or too big to fail. And all that they get are fines. So, and to understand the BIS, you have to go back to 1930. It was created, it says here, the BIS was established in 1930 by an intergovernmental agreement between Germany, Belgium, France, the UK, Italy, Japan, the United States, and Switzerland. Opened its doors in Basel, Switzerland in May 1930. Wow, and so it was first created to facilitate the payment of war reparations by Germany to the Allied countries, but it's still around. It was even involved in during World War II. All the major central banks of the world were still operating there, even the Germans. So the BIS helped the Nazis confiscate gold from the countries they invaded, like Czechoslovakia in 1938, with the Bank of England there and everything. I think the US officially wasn't there, but they had a representative of JP Morgan. I think his name was McKittrick, if I'm not mistaken. So the US and a lot of allied countries after the end of the war, they wanted to close that bank down because they realized that bank was financing both sides of the war. But good old John Maynard Keynes of the British delegation vetoed that, and they've kept it alive. So that's how they hide everything now, through the BIS. And if you understand what John Titus is talking about, that the U.S. banks are now above the law, the Federal Reserve, there's no audit, you will see why this is important too, because a lot of their dirty work, a lot of their hidden activities are stay at the BIS. You know, the heads of the major central banks in the world, they meet there every 2 months of the year. They go there. They have their own headquarters there. I think they have great dinners, great wine. I think they probably even have their suites there where they sleep there, and it's amazing. So yeah, the BIS, the bank that can do no wrong, the bank that runs the world. And he's right, Adam Libor, and John Titus confirms it. So highly recommend Best Evidence. Make sure you follow that channel. This is the only way we'll be able to change things, is through letting people know about these things, how the system is run, and I think a lot of times banking and all the terminology, all the different arcane terms they use. It puts the average person off from looking into it. And that's what they want you to do, not look into it. But it's not that complicated. If I can do it, I think everyone could do it. And I know I've worked in the city of London, but it doesn't qualify me more than you to look into it. Of course, it's made it easier for me, but believe me, it's not rocket science. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. You can also follow me on Twitter, Steemit, and on DTube. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.